It's Platt, and today we get Devastated. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. Alright, so the particular beer this week we're trying is the Devastator Dopplebock from Wasatch Brewing. We've tried a Wasatch Brewing beer before. We tried their Black O-Lantern Pumpkin Stout back in the fall. Just to recap a little background on Wasatch Brewing. Wasatch Brewing was founded by a gentleman named Greg Scherf. Greg's story was he moved from Milwaukee to Utah in the early 80s and quickly realized he was in a different space. The pubs, the breweries that he was used to in the Milwaukee area just weren't there in Utah. The reality was he had moved from one extreme of the brewery world, Milwaukee, which probably late 70s, early 80s was one of the capitals of brewing in America, to Utah, which is on the other end of the spectrum. At the time, there was no breweries, few outlets for alcoholic beverages, and the beer that was sold there was low alcohol beer, 3.2 beer. So Greg, being a fine American, decided, well, time to take things in my own hands, and he decided to open his own brewery. In 1986, he opened Utah's first legal brewery. A couple years later, he went back to the legislature and helped them write a law that helped open Utah's first brew pubs. So I'm sure the fine citizens of Utah appreciate Greg for what he's done and what he's done for the craft brewing industry there in Utah. Nowadays, there's several fine breweries out there besides Wasatch and a really growing beer scene there in Utah. Wasatch has a full line of beers, and I thought we'd touch on some of those today. Probably the most popular beer is the Polygamy Porter, which, just in the name of itself, given Utah's Mormon background and again the iffy practice of polygamy that may or may not legally still occur there today, but it's a nice, really smooth, chocolatey porter. I suggest you give that a try. Their new seasonal beer is something called a Guava Rosa Ale. Yep, I said that right. Guava Rosa Ale, made with real guava fruit. Definitely being a Utah-based brewery, you can see he's kind of working outside of the box on that one. Another beer of theirs that I find particularly interesting is the Blueberry Hefeweizen. Now, most Hefeweizens or wheat-style beers, you generally will add some kind of citrus fruit, whether it's an orange slice or a lemon wedge, what have you. I think the idea of a blueberry with the Hefeweizen sounds like it's a very interesting concept. Full disclosure, I like blueberries too. They have another beer that's fruit-based called Pickup Lime Sour Ale. It's a session sour ale with just a strong hint of lime. Lime's a traditional fruit that goes with beer, so it just kind of makes sense. Even though they're more vision being used in Mexican-style beers, lime generally works with a lot of beers, so that makes sense. And last but not least, they do have another pumpkin beer besides the Black O-Lantern Pumpkin Stout. They have a regular, just kind of pumpkin ale. Probably a more approachable ale than the Black O-Lantern Stout. Some people, even though I love stout beer, some people are just put off by the dark malt flavor or whatever. So probably the pumpkin ale was probably designed, for the more of a beginner palate. I kind of hate to use that term, but just, kind of the more generic palate. Well, before we try the Devastator, though, let's check out the stats. Alright, so our beer this week is Devastator. It says on the can Dopplebock. The, official title to the style is Dopplebock. That's how it's pronounced in German. Just a quick review of the style. SRM's 12 to 30, ABV 6.5 to 8%, and IBU 17 to 27. The term Doppel translates into double in Germany, but don't necessarily think of this as a double Bock beer. If you remember Bock beers we've tried before, they're a lager-style German-based beer with a slightly elevated ABV and slightly darker malt. We're not doubling that today. ABV-wise, most Bocks are around 6. This is an 8, so we're not doubling it. Also, too, this beer may be a shade darker than some Bocks, but not a lot darker. It's just kind of the next step up, more than a quote-unquote doubling. These beers tend to have a copper to dark brown color. No real hop aroma, very little hop flavor, and bitterness, just enough there for a little bit of balance. These beers, even though they're darker beers and a little higher ABV beers, still have a kind of softer body and a medium finish. That's what I like about the German beers in general. They always produce a product, whether it's lighter, darker, higher ABV, lower ABV. Their beers are always drinkable, more approachable style beers. They're generally lager beers. And that's why I really like them, and I like this style, the Bock and the Dopplebock style. They're just enjoyable beers. So let's try this enjoyable beer. All right. We've got not quite a full finger of light khaki head. Color-wise, this almost looks to me like a cola, like if I was pouring, some kind of cola color, maybe just a shade lighter, like if I'd thrown a cube or two to water it down a little bit. Let's give the nose. Oh, I'll get a lot of malt on that nose. No real hops on the nose. Let's give her a try. Oh my gosh, that is good. Just a really nice malty, I get kind of a toffee caramel. We're leaving those real light malty notes, the bready, biscuity thing, and we're getting more into caramel and toffee, some light chocolate, not a ton. Yeah, it just goes down nice and easy. Even though it's 8% alcohol, I don't really notice it. That's still low enough where you're not going to get the warming in the chest. Man, I could drink a gallon of this stuff right now. I really could. I'd probably feel it in the morning, but I would definitely give her a try. This is just, like I said, to me, it's indicative of a lot of German brews. Just a nice, simple, stylistically straightforward beer. It's just a simple, easy drinker, and in the sense because the Germans don't allow other ingredients to do the Reinheitsgebot or whatever, we just let the malt and the hops and the water. We just let them do their work. We don't have to mask it with anything else. And I'm not saying if you add other ingredients to beer you're masking, but it's just a nice, simple execution. And that's what I love about the style. Devastator. I love it. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you would like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Well, until next time, bottoms up.